about the new digital consumer. There's been a lot of talk today about how content's moving, how acquisition is changing. I'm going to refocus that and talk about the consumer and how that actually is impacting not only product, but marketing as well. So my name is Dion McKenzie, Director of Communications and Marketing at Iron Group, which is based in London. So I spend most of my time, we build, acquire through M&A and invest in digital subscription companies. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is going to be from my viewpoint as a senior executive, but then also as an investor and what we're seeing in the earlier stage startups that are hopefully going to be the next billion-dollar companies. First, before we get into that, a little bit about me, just to give you some context. So I'm half Jamaican and half Chinese, which is a weird mix, but it's actually becoming more common. And have spent a lot of my time in the US, Europe, and also Asia, actually living out in India for 2 years while I was with HP. Spent 4 years in Silicon Valley, so only recently come back to the UK. Don't worry about the English accent. And have about a decade of marketing. Also an angel investor as well, so I've invested in about 30 early stage startups. Some of them you might know, some of them you won't, between Europe and US. And for Iron, just to give you a little bit of context about the size and scale, so we're currently doing about 100 million pounds in revenue. 75,000 750,000 paid users across 8 brands. So I said we do subscription, that's our main business. We've got over 100 employees across 3 markets and 15 million uniques, which isn't bad for a non-media business. So what I'm going to be talking about today. So first, the actual digital consumer. Who are they? What do they do? What trends are we seeing when we think about the new digital consumer? How it shapes product. So we actually found that it has a direct relationship with how products are built, looking at the consumer, their needs, their wants, and how we actually translate that into a product that sells. The role of the marketer. So what's my job? What's the job of my team when you're looking at the new consumer? And then lastly, what it means for the 4 Ps, which this track is all about. So first, I'm going to ask a question, rhetorical question really, but have you ever influenced a brand's product decision? And I'm not talking about, obviously, in your day job, but I'm talking about as a consumer, as something that you've experienced or you've actually put out there, been translated into a product. I think you'll find 9 times out of 10 it does, or at least it should be. So we did research at Iron Group a couple of months ago, last year, when we was really thinking about, we was rethinking our thesis. What companies are we going to acquire next? What companies do we want to build and be a part of the journey? And we found out that in terms of, we coined the phrase busy, lazy, and all about me. These are really the consumers that we're after. These are really the consumers who are moving the next trends and are going to be the next billion-dollar businesses. So what does that mean? And I'm sure you guys are none of the above. But normally, people are busy. Not just talking about the woman in the picture with her kids, but just us in general. At work, at home, in our leisure time, we are very busy. Time is scarce. Never, there's never an off button. It's 24/7. And actually, a big thing for me personally, actually, and me and my wife, is there's never been a time where there's been less proximity to our usual helpers, normally our parents, normally our friends and family. We're now living globally. We're now bunny hopping from city to city, country to country. And so that has really enforced how busy we are. Second bit being, I'm lazy. I've actually used one of our coders, so our engineering team is probably going to kill me because they're probably the most productive. But they're lazy. I'm lazy. We're all lazy as consumers. We don't want to do much, but we want quite a lot. Happy to outsource tasks, right? I'm happy not to drive if I can take an Uber. And I want immediate results. So I don't want to wait for it. I don't want something to happen next week. I don't want something to happen tomorrow. I don't want to book something in advance. I'm normally booking just in time. Just when I've got to leave out, that's when I'm actually doing a booking. Third one is really interesting. So it's all about me, self-realization. We want to get up. We all want to achieve the highest tipping point of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-realization. We want to become more than ourselves, and we want our actual passions to actually get realized. Social peacocking. Not sure if you use the term or know the term, but it's really about showing off. We want to show our experiences. We want to show, it used to be a term of showing positive things, but now we're actually sharing negative things as well. So if I have a bad experience on an American Airlines flight, I'm probably going to share it on social media. I'm not going to keep it to myself now. And the last one is desire to be coached and advised by experts. Typically more of a US thing that we're seeing, but we're okay. We're actually venturing out to maybe have a life coach, maybe have a professional coach, maybe have a relationship coach to actually get better. And so that really brings to table a lot of interesting ideas, concepts when you're thinking about businesses and what are going to be the next big things. So at a glance, these are some of the trends and really what it means, what it translates from kind of the three busy, lazy, all about me. So one thing that we're seeing, which is unusual, and even the title of my talk, The New Digital Consumer, you're probably thinking millennials. What we're seeing is that it's actually generation agnostic. So it's straight from baby boomers to Gen Y, Gen X, Gen Z now, and also Generation Grey, 60 plus or something. So it's actually available to anybody. The next thing is the reason why we've gotten busier, lazier, and why we think it's all about ourselves is really the pace in which technology is moving. I don't know about you guys, I've been in the tech industry for quite a long time, and never has the pace of change been more rapid than it is now. So this is actually, influencing our consumers to want more, to demand more, and to want better services. The next is customers has never been more important. Now, this is something that probably in yesteryear, brands almost forgot about the customer. It was really about us, what my product is, why you need it, why you should have it. Now it's actually about flipping it and listening to customers. Customers are more vocal now than ever, and that actually translates to the people who make decisions about marketing and product and how to actually attract them. Fourth thing that we're seeing is reoccurring. So how many of those needs of being busy, of being lazy, how many times you need a service and you need a product now is really, really increasing. So it's less of the one-shot sale, more of reoccurring. I'm going to use a service. If I've got a problem, I'm probably going to use a service now repetitively. Whereas before, I'd probably, sell me once, never deal with me again. The last one is transfer of control. So we, as consumers, have now got to a point, probably because of the consumerization of apps and the amount of explosion technology that we're now accessing, where we're quite happy to outsource our lives to about 4 or 5 partners that we trust. And this can be about news, this can be about actual apps, this can be about software, but we're quite happy. Just to give you an idea, this is actually my 5 partners that me, my wife, and my family really depend on. Some of them you'll know, some of them you won't. So Netflix, I'm sure you guys are aware of. Films, where would I be without Netflix? What would I watch? How would I, entertain my weekends? The next one's Deliveroo, which I don't think is in India yet, but I think it's launching relatively soon. It's on-demand food delivery. Yeah? Who wants to cook anymore? I just want it if I'm at the office, if I'm somewhere. It's easily outsourced. Uber, which I'm sure you're all aware, going through quite a hard time at the moment, but still, one of my favorite apps and something that I outsource driving to. I live in London, so you can probably tell it's not the best to drive in. Spotify for music, and TaskRabbit, which is on demand for errands and tasks. So we use this for cleaning. My wife uses it for IKEA assembly because I'm terrible at making furniture. But these are really the core partners that I'm happy with to deal with my life. And I'm sure for you guys, it might be the same, some might be otherwise, but we're happy to outsource that activity. So what impact is it having on products? We talk about the new style of IT, the new style of consumers. Well, first, it's device first. And I put device first because about maybe 10 to 15 years ago, it was desktop first. 10 to 5 years ago, it was mobile first. And now we're seeing a plethora of different platforms, different things, different hardware, use cases for you to actually experience these products. So now it has to be whatever device you're on. The second is anywhere, anytime. So again, spoke about the problems. These things happen anytime. Third being unlimited access. So again, I don't just want access to my Netflix account during the mornings, but I want total unlimited access. I want to be able to watch it at 2 a.m. I want to be able to watch it at night. Next one is we don't own anything, or at least we own less than we used to own because of all of these things. Uber has meant that I don't have a car in London. I can rent it if I need one, but it's less is more. An experience via asset. So we're now moving away from when we actually go to a store, buy products, buy physical items, or remember the days when we used to buy software as a CD, to everything being online, to not owning anything. And the second one, the last one, is cheap or free. If you think about storage being probably a really good example with Dropbox, they can charge you, the price that they can charge you for having unlimited or 100 gigabyte has really gone down because everybody's doing it. So the price goes way down, and it's also introduced free, this idea of freemium. So we actually don't just want a service, and we don't want a limited service all the time. We actually don't want to pay for it now. So it's actually given birth to a lot of different monetization techniques that we might have normally used. So what this means, so digital, what's it actually doing? So I think that what we see in our portfolio companies, what we see with ourselves, is actually transforming the way that content, services, products actually get to you. And there's a couple of mega trends that I've been hearing for the last couple of days. I've really picked out three, which I feel are probably the most profound. First being data and AI. Now, the interesting thing with data and AI, it's not a new thing. We've always been collecting data from our users. I think the more interesting thing is the AI and machine learning that we're now doing to uncover what that actually means. So it's been super interesting when you're seeing with what artificial intelligence and machine learning, what we can do with the data. And as a marketer, we're actually seeing some great use cases where, because we're using AI and machine learning from a marketing perspective, when we look at acquisition, when we look at an ad, when we look at some out-the-door and above-the-line kind of marketing initiatives, we're really seeing that we can actually use that data to better retarget customers, to better connect with customers, or to better resurface what the actual customer is saying, what they need. Next thing being marketplaces. So again, you looked at kind of Uber, a strong one would be Airbnb. These marketplaces have really generated, talks to also the previous trend where we don't own anything anymore. So Airbnb don't own the homes that you stay. Uber don't own the cars that drive you around. It's really the marketplace that is taking shape. And the last one is new communications and content channels. So I listened to a great talk this morning with Nick from BuzzFeed. Again, a content channel that didn't exist the last 5 years, and there's plenty more. And what this basically does, so on the right side, is all the things that these mega trends are really turning into. So it's more speed. It's bundling, it's the ability. So one of the core strategies that we do at Iron Group that we're doing this year is actually, when we look at acquiring a company, it used to be acquiring a company because of their technical capabilities. Maybe they had great engineers, maybe they had a great product, and we would take that capability and bring that to our products. We're now looking for products that basically align with our products, so we can bundle. So instead of a traditional use case that I always use is 10 years ago I had a phone provider, an internet provider, a mobile provider. Now I just have one provider that offers me those three things. So we're seeing a lot more in bundling, and I don't think we're over yet. Next one is affordable customization. So it used to be hard, if I wanted to, from an enterprise experience, if I wanted to buy hard drive space or I wanted to buy a cloud, it used to be quite hard for me to then upgrade if I needed to, or to downgrade if I needed less storage. Now it's becoming more and more easier. We've seen that with AWS and several others. Next thing is scale. So it's never, ever been easier to get to 1 million users, to get to 100 million users, to get to 1 billion users. And predictable intelligence. So the ability to predict what's going to happen, both from a product perspective, but also from a consumer perspective as well. How many customers are going to stay with you? Who's going to churn? Why are they going to churn? Never been easier to get that information. And then last thing, which is converse to what reporters say, is it actually is enhancing human interaction. Yeah? We're spending less time at the laptop, on the mobile, and actually, sometimes we can interact with humans on a much more vast, broad level. So how does this actually affect the role of the marketer? How does this affect my job in day-to-day life? And you can almost see this as past, present, future. So the first is really, we used to market the need. Companies, products, services used to tell you basically the form, the factor, how fast they are, how good they are, and you used to buy it. We actually couldn't, in those times, investigate, look further, speak to somebody else to know what was going on. It was really companies were king. Secondly, it then moved, and we're probably in this phase now, where companies are now, if you look at the big brands, they actually don't need to market. You know their products, they've got brand awareness, but they're now shifting their marketing in terms of, continually showing you why you should use them, why you should keep using them, why you should keep buying them, keep exploiting them. And so we've now moved from a marketing philosophy of now thinking about what is the value that we're providing. Not that necessarily the product or the service, but what value is it giving you? How much time is it giving back to you? How much unbusy are you going to be if you've got this product? And lastly, marketing the experience. So this is something that we've seen really new brands do, really interesting early stage companies start doing, is marketing the experience. It's not about actual traveling necessarily. It's about the experience of when you're in the city that you're traveling to. And so we've seen some great use cases where that's actually happened. The next part is how to win. When we look at the consumer, when we look at the product, when we look at how it's affecting marketing and how the role of marketing is, we look at how to win from a marketing perspective. And these are some of the things that we've done, but that we've also seen in the industry, things that are really, really working well. So firstly, from an IAM perspective, we've really invested heavily. So out of our 8 brands that we have currently active, we've really invested heavily in content. And again, in the talk with BuzzFeed yesterday, Nick mentioned that, you've really, when you're building content and when you're trying to scale it, you're also looking at the job that you want the content to do, yeah? So in our case, top of funnel, top of mind is always going to be making a sale, yeah? So how does content help me make a sale? Because ultimately, that's what I want to do as a marketer. Next is share, experience, and watch. So we've actually got some of the vanity metrics that are coming to fruit. And these are things that normally brands wouldn't care about until recently. So shareability is something that's super important. If you see something, share it 5 times, tell your friend about it, that's actually more valuable to us, and it's a very important metric when we think about content. If you experience and watch it and view it, and actually are engaging in the content, that's another important metric as well, and one that we've continued to do. Next is email and mobile. So email is probably the oldest form of online marketing, but it's one that really is underused and undervalued. So we see email marketing more and more, mobile marketing getting more and more involved. When something's on your app and you get some RSS feeds or you get some updates, super important when you're bringing, and you can actually make users experience your product to its full level. Third one is experiment with platforms. So again, BuzzFeed wasn't around 5 years ago. We do some brand partnerships on BuzzFeed and a bunch of other sites. One of the earlier and interesting ones, we've got a wellness and nutrition product, subscription-based, and we've actually experimented with Snapchat with some of the ads. So don't be afraid to actually experiment with some of the platforms. It's not just about Google AdWords and Facebook. Next one is customers are your best ad. And it's probably happened in the last 3 to 5 years, brands actually starting to use or showcase their advertising from the view of the customer. And an actual, case study that I have is Airbnb, probably being the greatest one that actually showcase their users, showcase their experiences, and that's actually having a great effect. So this is Jonathan Wong, a Chinese native who's visiting Japan, which I don't know if you know, but Japan is really, Chinese love Japan, love going there. So it's actually a real, good kind of immersive culture. Some of the results that they got from this, they do the normal traditional marketing acquisition, kind of online digital marketing, but the good reach that they got was 1.7 million organic reach, which they didn't get. I don't think a Google campaign does that for them. And then the next was it got 500,000 views. So this was actually a video ad that went out, and it got 500,000 views, which is great if you look at China, probably most developed market, and is a great growth market for Airbnb. So this is just an example of how customers can really be at the center of your advertising and your marketing. Last one is acquire once and focus on engagement. So I'm saying this from the prospect of a subscription business. Subscription businesses are great in the fact that, if I spend acquisition and I have a certain amount of acquisition dollars, I only have to worry about acquiring the customer once. The next marketing spend and the next marketing budget that you should have is really focused on engagement. Focus on engagement, focus on education, focus on letting the user understand the experience more and get delved into it. So what about the 4 Ps? I spoke about the 4 Ps a lot, and really the question was, are the 4 Ps still relevant? And I still think they are, but I think they actually equal different things now. The first is product, and you've heard me talk about experience quite a lot in this talk, but really product is the new experience. Experience, it's not really about the product that you buy, the product that you own, it's about the experience that you do, and this can come from a service-orientated business or more so of a product-orientated business. The next is price. Price is still relevant, it's not about a fixed price though, it's about variability. So it's about having the option to do custom, and we spoke about the freemium model, finding different ways to monetize your product rather than just selling something to a user. Place, we spoke about where the place is. So normally you'd go to shops. We're seeing time and time again that it's actually increasing online, and we're seeing this behavior across a lot of things. Purchasing, different industries. If you think about fashion, probably one of the most that's getting really innovated on in terms of we're now doing that online, we're now doing that via mobile, we're now doing that and wanting to experience that differently. So I think place is more about the device that you're on. And the last one is promotion. So when we think about promotion, pretty much now, every time you've probably been promoted at or got an ad, we're seeing it more and more in terms of social. You're not really seeing the big outdoor campaigns like you used to see. The things that really resonate with, again, this new digital consumer is really social media. And there's a bunch of other platforms that are coming. So if you think about AR, virtual reality, these are some of the new platforms that the new customer, the new consumer is really looking at. And so I'll finish off with the last quote, which really talks about the 4 Ps and how we should view them, what we should think about. But it's really about embracing the changes. There's so much change going on. Actually embrace it from a product and a marketing point of view. Secondly, it's about starting to offer experiences, not just thinking about products as a one-stop sale. Think about it as a lifetime relationship with the consumer. The other one is value, actually offering value to the consumer, as opposed to just offering a service or a product they can use. Flexibility and access. So again, customers don't want to own anything anymore. It's very much all about being able to access a lot of things.